Well, I'm back out. Tinkered off and on a couple of, hours over the last week. Came over, spent a half an hour, 20 minutes, hour, whatever. Just kind of picking away at little parts of this project to get to the next step, which is pretty much cut the body off of the thing. And I figured I'd put a time lapse together for that. So I had left my phone at home and cut the first floor cut from the transmission tunnel to the driver's side. And then I was like, I really do want to kind of record this. I needed to go home and get new Sawzall blades because I didn't have any fresh blades up here, and I was fighting a dull pile of garbage. And so I drove home, walk in the door, surprise my wife. She's not expecting me back for a couple hours. And what's she doing? Putting up the Christmas tree. She looked so surprised when I walked in the door, and I looked at her and I said, "You're killing an elf, honey." I said, anybody that puts up Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving, for each person that does that kills one elf. And I looked at her and I said, "You're killing elves." And she's like, "Huh?" She didn't understand it. But love her to death, and it was fun to catch her in the act of doing something she thought she was getting by on the sly with, getting that tree up before Thanksgiving. So it's close enough. I gave her a hard time. Beautiful tree she picked out for this year. So we'll see what the cats do to that, because we do have two assholes at home that like to tear everything up. So I'm guessing at least once before I get home from this afternoon, that tree's going to end up on its side. So I'll show you what I'm doing here and what I've done over the last couple, little hour drop-ins here. So I got both of the fenders off of the front, and I got my exhaust trinkets, some 90s here. Those showed up on the Amazon truck here the other day. Those are kind of hard to find, and the 3.5 that I needed and not pay a fortune for it. After mocking it up, I actually think I might end up flipping those manifolds right side up or upside down. But we'll see a little bit more. But it kind of starts getting it pointed in the right general direction. It's going to take some fitting. I did get, as you'll notice, these duplicitous are the grill supports. And there's a big old air gap there. So I cut this guy out. So this guy was their homemade body mount that they had stacked in there, like so. Really bad welds around the top of it. So I pulled the grill off, dropped the radiator against the motor, cut that off, and then relocated it on the frame the other day while I was in here. So now that square stock was between the lower grill mount and the cross member here. So that amounted to 2 3/4 of an inch that I cut off of there. I did leave a bushing in there. I'll be able to shim this up and down depending on how the body lays out and the hood lays out. So my goal is to be able to run that up or down. And then I did cut these strut rods down. This was what they had done. Whether this is a factory piece or not, or a factory idea or not, I have no idea. But these were way longer, and this bolt was down here further, or vice versa. So I got the grill kind of mounted loose, certainly adjustable, and then I marked out the floor. So pretty much what I'm doing is I want to be in front of this piece here. I already cut, there's a double layer in the floor, like a cross member body support, that ended here at the original, I don't know, well, maybe that's the original transmission tunnel. I have no idea where the original shift boot came out of this thing, but I already had to cut and notch most of that to clear my twin stick. And then when I drop the body, this whole area here is going to run into the transfer case, because the transfer case is legitimately right underneath this with it locked flat. So I ran across. I haven't pulled that panel because my shift cable is going through it. And I'm just lazy at the moment. And I just ran a piece of tape across this thing. This one's a little, there we go. That looks a little better. Ultimately, I think this piece is going here anyhow, but I would like to get a straight line there if I need it. I came across the other side already before I went and got my phone. So ran the saw across there, wheel of death the floor, and then, oh, I got one spot here left I got to cut. But and then it, you know, instantly popped and sagged. So now you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a strap from the center of the dash to something, maybe on the motor. I'm not sure. I can't really do it to the grill because the grill's not supported, but we're going to get that braced so it doesn't just fold back and wreck anything. All right, so I've never done a time lapse or tried a time lapse, so let's see if this works. All right, so we got the body line cut, or floorboards cut. So ran that across both sides. Got this inner plate knocked out of this area. Get to see all the fancy work that they did when they built this thing. We got box tube here. We got whatever original plating just smashed the hell over there. More box tube here. Rotten floor stuff there. Hornet's nest rattled out from underneath the dash. That's cute. Glad we didn't experience that in the summertime. Took a lot of dirt out onto the floor. This is the inner panel that I pulled out of both sides here. So here's the one from this side. Same thing. They were consistent at least. The gauge of material on this is crazy. Get that to focus. I don't have a tape measure handy, but that's at least 1/8 inch plate. And it's doubled up. So in this sidewall alone, there's 1/4 inch of steel plate on top of the box tube, on top of the other piece of box tube that makes the bottom. And I think there's another piece of box tube here. I'm assuming I'm going to find something. Actually, there is more box tube inside of here because this is like a 1/2 inch air gap in there, and this is a 1 inch air gap. So there's a lot of weight in this piece. And even the gauge of the tube is like 1/8 inch wall. So I should get a tape measure, put a tape measure on that. But I talked about how much some of this stuff weighed, and it's unbelievable. Whether I'm going to shave that much weight off or not, I don't know. I got the shocks off. Got it sitting actually on the jack stands now. The more I worked on it, the more stuff I took off. It was starting to float off of these jack stands here in the back. Front ones are loose because I am sitting on the front suspension. So ultimately, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run just a ratchet strap from the top of the shock tower down to the axle, suck the suspension down on each side until it's touching these, and then obviously before I start doing any cage work and stuff, I'll get, you know, this frame rail flat with the World. I'm back. We are loose from the chassis. So did my floor cut, both sides. That's loose. Came across, undid that body mount, wherever it is, somewhere, right there. Cut that weld right there, 4 inches. Bent some of this stuff out of the way, cut my shock towers off. There's a weld right here at the back corner. Wasn't welded up the back side. And then I had to cut along this weld. They had fully welded that. Same 2 welds over here. Cut that one. Cut that one. Body mount down there, obviously. This entire thing is loose. I can pick up the front corners of it. I really don't want to have to like cut it in half side to side to get it off. So I don't know what my father-in-law used those things for, but they appear to be bolted into the rafters with some giant lags. And there's another one over there. So I'm gonna try and get frisky, maybe, and see if with 2 ratchet straps I can sling this thing up and land it on the floor over there. So we're gonna do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Come and see if this really works. But if it works, you'll see it on the floor. If not, you'll see me in the emergency room. Well, I didn't have straps with me because when I put my trailer away for winter, pretty much every strap I own is in my trailer after moving the niece's van a couple weekends ago. So I grabbed a couple of photos. I should have done a time lapse. That would have been cute, as if that time lapse thing actually works that I'm trying in this this version episode. But I grabbed a couple photos as it was the teetering tower of terror. I was able to pretty much slide it off the chassis, and this is what I ended up with. So almost to ground zero as far as getting everything located where it needs to be. The frame, starting to clean up the frame, and start building tube work from there. So next step is get this thing out of here. That took every ounce of energy I had to get it there, and I've got it propped up against the front axle on the Jeep because it wants to tip over. So I'm gonna have to get another person, grab a strap, and jerk that thing out the door, lean it up against the rest of the scrap pile I'm creating. I've got no clue what that weighs, but that thing is everything I've got in me to get from where it landed on the floor at a 45-degree angle, leaning on the frame rails of the Jeep, to there. So no clue what it weighs. Ultimately, I am gonna go to the scrapyard, I decided. So rather than just call a local scrapper to come pick it up. So I'll have a pretty general idea of what that weighed, what some of the other garbage I took off, like that roll cage and stuff, what that weighed. And then I know what my linear footage is for the DOM tubing I'm putting on. I'll have a general idea of the plate stock that I buy. I've actually got a lot of aluminum available, so that'll be kind of a controversial issue I'm going to run up into here later on. But yeah, next step, get that thing shoved out the door, get the cowl dropped down to match the elevation of the grill. That guy's coming out of there. That whole world gets dropped down, and then I don't think I'm gonna have to do any clearancing, but while I'm in there, I'm gonna clean up the firewall. I got some holes, I got some hardware. I just want to clean it all off, and while I can tip it back and get some of this garbage stripped off of it. Probably slap a coat of rattle can on it and make it presentable. So yeah, till next time, do something cool, guys.